Before my husband departed for battle, he deliberately took a maid with him, for the sake of fairness. The very next day, I hired a handsome young servant into the household. 3 years later, my husband returned victorious, and the maid had become a concubine. My lady, to repay Shuang's life-saving kindness, I have taken her as my concubine. I hope the princess will not take offense. I let out a cold laugh and summoned the handsome young servant. Husband, during that great fire at the estate, it was thanks to Yulang's rescue that I recognized him as my own younger brother. Xiao Su dismounted, his sword-like brows furrowed in anger. How could you discuss such a momentous matter without consulting me? I feigned surprise. Ah, did it require discussion? I thought I could decide on my own. Never mind, my lord. I won't be so careless next time. Stepping past the sedan chair behind us, I fixed my gaze on the line of carriages. Are these all rare goods from the northern frontier? I addressed Xiao Su. But Shu Ying, from within the sedan chair, spoke softly. I'm sensitive to the cold. These carriages carry medicinal herbs from the frontier. Among them is a particularly rare reishi mushroom, a gift from the general himself. Reishi? Huh? Perfect for nourishing my jade lover. I couldn't be bothered with Shu Ying's rambling. Pointing my folding fan at the carriages, I ordered, unload all the lingji. My Yulang needs this herb. My husband grew agitated, snatching my fan away. That lingji is precious. I saved it for Shuang. How dare you give it to a servant? I clicked my tongue twice. Husband, that's not right. What do you mean servant? Yulang saved me, he's like my own brother. I'm a princess. What's wrong with taking a box of lingji? Besides, Yulang's already been listed in the imperial registry. Isn't his status higher than a mere maid's? I frowned, flung my handkerchief aside, and turned away in a huff. Husband, you've been away 3 years, how did you become so petty? Xiao's stubbly face flushed crimson. He pointed at me and roared. Petty? Right then, Yulang immediately stumbled forward. He threw himself at Xiao's legs. General, don't hit sister. It's all Yulang's fault. Yulang doesn't want this medicine anymore. Cough cough. Yulang truly lived up to his name. His mere coughing and wailing drew frequent glances from young wives along the street. Did you hear? General Xiao wants to beat his wife the moment he returns. Oh dear. The lady's brother is crying so pitifully. General Xiao must be quite the violent man in daily life. Right? If you ask me, marrying a general is worthless. Men are all the same. Xiao Su, after years of battle, valued his reputation above all. Now, he was desperate to clear his name. Stop slandering me. When have I ever struck a woman? With that, he kicked Yulong flying across the room. Yulong. I jogged over, shaking his limp neck. Wake up! Doctor! Doctor! I cried out repeatedly in short bursts. For court physicians carried Yulong away together. Before parting, I gave Xiao Su a light curtsy, then rolled 2 clear tears down my cheeks. My voice trembling. Husband, direct any grievances at me. Yulong is innocent. Without him, I would have been burned alive. My eyes flickered, my voice growing even more wretched. As for taking Shu Ying as your concubine, do as you please. After all, back then, you deliberately took her away. I emphasized the word deliberately with deliberate force. Xiao's face darkened with each word. The gossiping commoners, however, looked thrilled. Such secrets of the powerful. By evening, they'd surely spread through every street and alley. I turned lightly and stepped into the mansion with small, hurried paces. The autumn wind was blowing fiercely, scattering withered leaves. I appeared exceptionally tragic and sorrowful. Xiao's little schemes were as obvious as Sima Zhao's ambitions. Before the expedition, he had spent his days holed up in his study. I thought he was diligently studying. Instead, he was hiding his mistress in a golden chamber. That maid, Xu Ying, had originally served in the study, grinding ink. But who could have imagined? Just before departure, Xiao Su insisted on taking her along. He merely sought to gild Xu Ying's reputation. A maid who gained fame for accompanying the army, to any observer. She would appear utterly devoted. Xiao Su sought a legitimate pretext for taking a concubine. Well, now, I agreed. Who knows what the common folk will say? Sure enough, before supper time, Xiao Su was already scurrying about the courtyard searching for me. At that moment, I sat beneath the locust tree watching Yulong practice swordplay. The fragrance of locust blossoms filled the air, the graceful figure wielding the sword. I sipped lightly from my flower tea, utterly at ease. The moment Xiao Su found me, his eyes widened in shock. He pointed at Yulang and demanded, "Why is he still here?" I slowly set down my teacup, utterly unconcerned. Yulang is my own younger brother. What harm is there in letting him stay in the manor? Xiao Su's fists trembled with fury. But there are distinctions between men and women. I waved my hand dismissively, smiling. My dear husband, when did you become so petty? Now you're even jealous of my brother? Xiao Su's lips quivered, words of anger on the tip of his tongue. But he changed course. Xu Ying's eyes were swollen from crying. She said if you wouldn't let her into the manor, she'd have no face to live on. You know the gossip outside. I picked up my folding fan and snorted derisively. If I agreed, wouldn't those rumors laugh me off as a fool? Unless... Xiao Su's eyes narrowed in inquiry. I fanned myself and continued. Unless she's carrying a child. Then I could legitimately bring her into the manor. And you can't say I'm not helping you. Before I could finish, Xiao Su gave my cheek a light peck. He murmured, "Yower. Would you mind if I stayed with you tonight?" I giggled. What does he think he is? Some kind of treasure? Today, tomorrow, the day after. He's already booked solid. I pressed close to his ear, flustered and hesitant. But I haven't been feeling well these past few days. Perhaps. Then forget it. He straightened, stroked my cheek a few times, then hurried away. No need to guess. He definitely left the manor to find Xu Ying. With such great news, they'd surely be working hard tonight. Half an hour later, maid Kai Heng entered to report. Madam, the general has arranged for Xu Ying at Rueha Pavilion. He reserved a room, the innermost one on the 3rd floor, for 2 months, costing 600 taels. I snorted coldly. 2 months? He's quite confident. I picked up brush and ink, writing a few swift strokes. Afterward, I handed the sealed letter to Kai Heng and instructed. Same as always. As soon as Kai Heng left, I summoned Yulang. Lifting my teacup, I smiled at him. Send someone tonight to set fire to Rueha Tower. Remember to start from the bottom and work upward. They're in the innermost room on the 3rd floor, make absolutely sure. Yulang grinned wickedly and withdrew. I narrowed my eyes, savoring the moment. Indeed, a handsome man, no matter how wicked, can never look truly ugly. After supper, I retired early. The steward rushed to the courtyard gate, shouting frantically, Madam! It's terrible! The general is trapped in a fire at Rueha Tower, dressed in plain white robes, without a single hairpin or jewel. I led a group of servants to the Phoenix Crane Pavilion to help extinguish the blaze. By the time we arrived, all the guests on the 1st and 2nd floors had already evacuated. Thick smoke billowed as the raging fire reached the 3rd floor. Despite the efforts of many trying to put it out, It was like trying to extinguish a forest fire with a cup of water, utterly futile. I grabbed a waiter and demanded, "How many people were staying on the third floor?" The waiter's face paled, his voice growing fainter. "Business has been slow lately. Only the general and a woman are staying on the third floor." I sucked in a sharp breath, my eyes closing as I fell backward. Kai Heng rushed to catch me. "Hold on, madam. Though the general is meeting his maid here in secret, you must keep your strength." Kai Heng had a knack for words. In one brief sentence, she both exposed Xiao's nighttime tryst with the maid and made clear my own frail condition. Out of the corner of my eye, I spotted the men of Minister Sun. My heart leapt with delight. Minister Sun was notoriously petty. With such an incident occurring in the capital, he would surely file a formal complaint against Xiao Su. Yulong blended into the crowd. He secretly aimed his slingshot at the third-floor window. Cutting his voice, he shouted, "Everyone, smash the window!" The general must have fainted inside. Instantly, a cacophony of clattering sounds erupted. The poor carved wooden window couldn't withstand the assault for long, swaying precariously. Unexpectedly, as the window crashed down, Shu Ying and Xiao Su lay naked, clinging to each other. Two pale, exposed bodies. The crowd erupted in screams. Just then, Secretary Sun stepped down from his carriage. He looked up, his eyes widening in shock, and his feet lost their footing. It was time. He bit through the blood-filled pouch in his mouth, spewing a gush of blood as he collapsed to the ground. Chaos erupted among the crowd. No one knew whom to rescue first. A few opportunists waved upward. "Jump! General! Carry the beauty and jump! The fire's spreading!" Xiao Su shielded Shu Ying behind him, hands on hips, bare-chested. Amid the billowing smoke, he shouted urgently, "Throw us some clothes!" The crowd, rarely witnessing such excitement, couldn't spare a thought for tossing clothes. Only the steward hurled a few items, but his weak throw couldn't reach the third floor. Just then, a thunderous crash echoed as the second-floor beams collapsed. The third-floor timbers swayed precariously. The smoke thickened relentlessly. Xiao Su and Shu Ying vanished from sight. A wave of regret rippled through the crowd. Then, a pale figure emerged from the black smoke. A thud followed. A roll of lotus-pink curtain fell to the ground. Looking closer, Xiao Su emerged from the curtain, clutching Shu Ying. Both their faces were smudged with soot. Xiao Su bore no resemblance to the mighty general he once was. Instead, he looked every bit the thief caught red-handed. Shu Ying buried her face in the crook of his neck, sobbing uncontrollably. "I have no face to live. Let me die." I shook my head gently and gave a subtle signal. Several hands emerged from behind the crowd, grabbing the tent curtain and yanking it down with a sharp tug. Rip! The two on the ground were instantly stripped bare. Their pale, delicate bodies formed a stark contrast against the gray-black brick floor. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. "Look at that, now that's someone who has no face to live." Shu Ying immediately covered her face and shrieked, scrambling to hide beneath Xiao Su. Xiao Su propped himself up with his arms, creating a gap for Shu Ying to slip into. Turning his head, the veins on his neck bulged. "Who did this?" "TSK. TSK. TSK." That position was far too suggestive. No wonder when Minister Sun arrived and witnessed this scene, he nearly slipped again. Minister Sun was over 70. He often boasted that nothing in this world could surprise him anymore. Well, now he had seen it. He stamped his court boots loudly, his white eyebrows knitted tightly. The man who was usually quick with words was now utterly speechless. "General Xiao, what on earth? Good heavens! How could you be so shameless?" As he spoke, he unfastened his black leather cloak. With a flutter, the cloak rose through the air and landed on Xiao Su. Xiao Su lifted his sunburned, crimson-black face, about to express gratitude, only to be sharply rebuked by Minister Sun. "Shut your mouth. Do you think I did this for you? I did it for the Princess of Pingyao. This war has raged for 3 years. And the moment you return, you engage in such filthy deeds." Minister Sun bent over, slapping his thigh loudly, pounding his chest in frustration. "Xiao Su, you have tarnished the court's reputation. You have betrayed the emperor. You have dishonored the late emperor." Kai Heng barely managed to steady me up, and I seized the moment to sob even more bitterly. The sound of my weeping instantly parted the crowd, forming a path. My gaze locked with Secretary Sun's. Through tear-filled eyes, I forced myself upright, determined to walk toward him. But my foot caught on something. Kai Heng and I both stumbled and fell. Minister Sun cried out in alarm, "Your Highness, be careful." With that, he limped over and used his knotted, sinewy hands to hastily lift me up. I curtsied in thanks, inadvertently wiping away the blood from the corner of my mouth. It was as if someone had handed me a pillow just when I was drowsy. At that moment, Xiao Su and Shu Ying, lying on the ground, began arguing. Shu Ying sobbed. "I was a pure and innocent girl. I followed you, only to end up like this." Xiao Su roared. "You don't want me? Then go seduce someone else. Do you think I can't live without you?" The two muttered complaints at each other. I lifted my eyes to look at them, but the moment my gaze fell upon them, I turned away as if struck by lightning, closing my eyes, tears streaming down my face. My lips trembled. "Minister Sun, I want a divorce." It was merely a test. Even if Minister Sun hesitated, I wouldn't have cared. But I hadn't anticipated this. As soon as I finished speaking, Minister Sun bowed to me with unusual solemnity. "Princess Pingyao, rest assured. At dawn, I shall enter the palace and report everything truthfully to His Majesty." A wave of warmth washed over my heart. In today's game of chess, everyone was my pawn, including Minister Sun. After all, the entire capital knew him for his strict adherence to propriety, weighing every detail. I anticipated he would certainly report Xiao Su. Yet, unexpectedly, he took the responsibility for the woman's divorce proceedings upon himself. Unlike a man divorcing his wife, a woman seeking a divorce involves far more complicated procedures. Minister Sun is a good man. Just as I was thinking this, Minister Sun waved his hand, signaling that I could borrow his carriage. I thanked him profusely and left the scene of the incident with Kai Heng. Back at the mansion, I worked through the night. First, I took inventory of the dowry and household servants. Then I selected generous gifts to send to Minister Sun's residence. Finally, I took out a gold ingot to reward Yulong. He'd handled things brilliantly. Stealing the clothes first, then setting the fire, truly a masterstroke. Xiao Su hadn't returned all night. Indeed, he had squandered years of hard-earned prestige. How could he possibly show his face to me again? I waited eagerly for good news at dawn. Yet, at noon, Minister Sun sent a bloodstained sash, leaning heavily against the doorframe. His features seemed aged beyond his years. He parted parched lips, then closed them, letting out a long, heavy sigh. He had done his utmost. He must have pleaded from dawn until noon, arguing his case with reason. Princess Pingyao. General Xiao knelt before the emperor and struck himself 3 times with his sword. His blood soaked through the sash. Minister Sun raised his eyebrows and spat. "Pa. He's a martial artist. He knows perfectly well where to strike without dying. If he had any real guts, why didn't he slit his own throat?" Ah. I talked myself hoarse, yet still failed to sway His Majesty's resolve. A sudden gust of autumn wind sent a chill through me. Divorce is so difficult for women. Unless the husband refuses or has committed crimes like murder or theft, a woman cannot obtain a divorce. True. Reflecting carefully, though last night's incident was severe, at its core, it stemmed from Xiao Su keeping a concubine. Even in the emperor's eyes, 3 self-inflicted cuts seemed sufficient punishment. This world. A cold wind swept in, and I sought to invite Minister Sun inside. He seemed lost in thought, staring blankly at the ground. Then, claiming urgent business, he hurriedly took his leave. Minister Sun's desolate figure had barely faded into the distance, when a crimson sedan chair approached steadily. The lead eunuch, spotting me at the doorway, performed a deep bow. Mistaking me for someone awaiting Xiao Su, he announced the news in a falsetto voice. Princess Ping Yao. Congratulations. You and General Xiao truly share a deep bond. Rest assured, Your Highness, the general is unharmed. Those words felt like a fly. It was as if, while I was sipping fresh broth, a fly suddenly plummeted into it. It flapped about in the soup. And then, as if nothing had happened, asked me, how was my swimming? Disgusting. I watched coldly as the eunuch carried Xiao Su out. Xiao Su was bare-chested again. Only this time, his upper body was wrapped in blood-soaked bandages. Xiao Su opened his eyes with great effort, his voice weak and strained. Madam Lao, I have cut myself 3 times in atonement for my carelessness. As he spoke, Shu Ying leaned out from the sedan chair. She curtsied before me, immediately addressing me as sister. Her tone carried a hint of smug satisfaction. Sister. Shu Ying was once ignorant and caused much trouble. Fortunately, His Majesty took pity, remembering my 3 years of service with the army, and thus granted me the status of a legitimate concubine. Shu Ying lifted her eyes, meeting mine before stating, word by word, henceforth, we sisters shall serve the general together. Her eyes brimmed with unchecked ambition. The curve of her lips a far too obvious smirk. Xiao Su cut himself 3 times to take a concubine? That won't suffice. I chuckled and shook my head. What are you laughing at? Madam? Xiao Su frowned. Nothing. I feigned a few light coughs, picked up my handkerchief, and entered the mansion first. A quarter of an hour later, I was drinking wine with Yulong beneath the locust tree. After just a few cups, I saw Shu Ying supporting Xiao Su as they approached. The pair stood rooted at the doorway. Shu Ying pointed with her white hand, speaking with unabashed boldness. General, I adore locust blossoms. This courtyard is perfect. Clearly, she saw herself as the victor. But unfortunately, I had already assigned this courtyard to Yulong. Xiao Su understood perfectly well, yet still turned and ordered. Attendants! Prepare this courtyard. Arrange everything according to the second lady's preferences. Shu Ying clearly relished that title. Right now, she was rubbing against Xiao Su's arm like a kitten. Second lady? Xiao Su sure knew how to add color to his words. I set down my wine cup and glided forward, closing in step by step. Amidst the footsteps, I spoke plainly. This courtyard, I've already had Yulong move in. As for this concubine, let her stay in the study. I shrugged, adding sarcastically, after all, that's where she made her fortune, isn't it? Shu Ying's face flushed, and 2 tears fell. Madam, are you mocking me? I let out a soft "eh" and waved my hand, shaking my head in denial. Xiao Su had just exhaled in relief, but I pressed on. I don't just mock you, I despise you. Look down on you. Truth be told, you're nothing but a bed-climbing maid. Xiao Su seemed to have his tail stepped on. He bellowed. Ping Yao! What kind of talk is this? Before I could respond, Yulong stumbled over, reeking of alcohol. He charged straight at Xiao Su, his voice earnest. Don't you dare speak to sister like that. Xiao Su was already injured. The impact made the blood seep through the gauze even more. Xiao Su staggered back a few steps, gasping sharply. His face flushed crimson with rage. What did I say to her? Is this really necessary? Yu Lang shielded me with his body, biting his lip lightly before kneeling with a thud. Do you know why sister made me stay here? It's all because of you. I was startled, uncertain what drama Yulang intended to perform. I turned to look at him. Tears streamed from Yulang's eyes like beads snapped from a string, splattering onto the ground. His voice choked with emotion. After that great fire, though I saved sister, she still suffered nightmares relentlessly. Were it not for these soothing acacia incense, sister might not be here today. Yulang's words were deeply moving. Overcome with emotion, he stood up and shook Xiao Su's shoulders violently. You're the general. Tell me, what were you doing when my sister was dying? Yulang wept as if his heart were breaking. As he reached the climax of his speech, his eyes rolled back, and with a thud, he collapsed unconscious. What a convincing performance. Now he lay there, fists clenched, eyes tightly shut, lips slightly parted. I hurriedly summoned the maids to carry Yulang inside. I glared at Shuaying. If anything happens to my brother, you won't get off scot-free either. Then I shot a look at Xiao Su, his face frozen in shock. And you, when he wakes, both of you will apologize to him. Xiao Su nearly cried out in alarm. I apologize to him? I didn't even touch him. I stood with hands on hips, righteous indignation in my voice. You didn't touch him? Then why did he faint? After 3 years away, how did you become like this? Where is the dignity of a great general? My anger boiling over, I pointed a trembling finger. You did this on purpose. You bullied us because Yu Lang is frail. He's my own brother, registered in the Imperial Registry. If need be, I'll cut myself 3 times and seek justice for him before the Emperor. Xiao Su's scandal of keeping a mistress was just beginning to die down. He certainly didn't want another wave of trouble. With that, Xiao Su patted Xu Ying's delicate hand and instructed. As you wish, my lady. Once her brother wakes, you shall go apologize. Xu Ying pressed her lips into a straight line, gritting her teeth inwardly. With matters escalating to this point, she had no choice but to be dragged out to take the fall. Xiao Su, fearing further extortion from us, hurried away with purposeful strides. I pretended to feed Yulang 2 doses of restorative medicine. After the maid left, we whispered a few words and exchanged a knowing smile. We simply waited for tomorrow's apology. The following noon, Xu Ying, dressed in moon-white robes, arrived late. Yu Lang set down his soup bowl and asked her with a smile, "Why has Auntie Ying come?" That title was amusing, it nearly made me cough. Auntie Ying, he said. TSK. TSK. That title, only he could come up with something like that. Xu Ying gave a slight curtsy, her eyes lingering on both of us. She smiled indifferently and raised a red-lacquered food box. Yesterday I was foolish, unaware Madam had pledged the courtyard to an outsider, and that you fell ill because of it. My heart truly feels remorseful. So I made 2 plates of pastries as an apology. An apology, she says. But this is still her way of blaming me. I slammed my chopsticks down, raising my eyebrows. An outsider? I stared intently at Xu Ying. Silence filled the room, broken only by the rustling of leaves. Xu Ying, drawing strength from somewhere, refused to back down. After a long pause, Yulang broke the silence. He poured a bowl of fresh mutton soup and placed it before me, offering a wry smile. Auntie Ying was speaking of me. I am of lowly birth. Only by saving the princess did I earn the fortune of being recognized as her younger brother. It's only right that people gossip about me. Yulong's tone shifted abruptly. But no matter how lowly my fate, it still surpasses that of a bed-climbing maid sold cheaply by her parents. That is true lowliness. True wretchedness. Yulong's words were hollow and insincere. Yet each sentence pierced Shuang's heart. More than the bed-climbing scandal. She couldn't bear the thought of being sold by her own parents. Back then, Xiao Su had told me this himself. On that bitterly cold New Year's Eve, as Xiao Su rode past on horseback, he witnessed Shuang being dragged into the street by her parents. Xiao Su said he hadn't intended to intervene. But as he was leaving, he overheard Shuang being sold for 3 taels of silver. 3 taels of silver couldn't even buy a mule. Xiao Su's compassion stirred. He bought Shuang for 10 taels and brought her into his residence. I took a light sip of mutton soup and sneered at Yulong. Yeah. How could parents like that exist? 3 taels wouldn't even buy this bowl of soup in my hand. Ridiculous. I shook my head, watching Shuang out of the corner of my eye. Her face flushed crimson. She stamped her foot, gave a hasty curtsy, and dashed away. A mischievous smile curved my lips as I gave a subtle nod. Yu Lang, understanding the signal, sprinted out to follow Shuang. I instructed Kai Heng to stay behind and sent another maid to fetch Xiao Su. Once only Kai Heng and I remained in the room. Kai Heng instinctively opened the food box Shuang had brought, taking a silver needle to test for poison. The needle remained untainted. I picked up a butterfly pastry and took a light bite, spitting it directly into the jade spittoon. Kai Heng took the half-eaten pastry, carefully avoiding the lip balm I'd just applied. With my right hand, I gently removed my hairpin, flicked open the hidden compartment, and dripped several drops of melted arsenic inside. A quarter of an hour later, the moment Xiao Su entered the door, I let out a wail. I promptly knocked over the soup bowl in my hand, rolling onto the floor and curling up in a ball. He was terrified, hurriedly picking me up and placing me on the bed. I clutched his sleeve tightly, urging Kai Heng to fetch the household physician immediately. As expected, Kai Heng brought the physician, who confirmed arsenic poisoning sourced from the butterfly pastry Shuang had delivered. The evidence was ironclad. Xiao Su was speechless, but he refused to accept it, summoning 3 other physicians for a second opinion. Their conclusions were identical, even though they were doctors. Even mansion physicians. When the situation was unclear, they would simply follow the prevailing opinion. Who would dare offend the mistress for the sake of a concubine? This was clearly the mistress punishing the concubine. I am the mistress. And moreover, a princess. Even if they knew the truth, they would swallow it. With matters escalating to this point, Xiao Su had no choice but to severely punish Shuang. As expected, Shuang had already left the manor. Only about an hour later did Shuang hurry back. Xiao Su smashed the teacup in his hand and demanded, "Where have you been? Why are you only coming now?" Shuang had jogged the entire way, strands of hair falling loose from her temples. Her chest heaved as she stammered. "I went to the cosmetics shop to see the new lip balm." Shu Ying's eyes darted nervously, unable to meet Xiao Su's gaze. Xiao Su interpreted her evasiveness as guilt over poisoning, his gaze growing sharper. "Why would you poison the mistress?" "Poison?" Shu Ying snapped her head up, shaking it like a rattle. I didn't. I gritted my teeth and sat up, wiping the cold sweat from my forehead. I continued framing her. "How could you not? It was your butterfly pastry." Shu Ying knelt in terror, crawling forward on her knees. She touched Xiao Su's court boots, bowing her head to plead for mercy. She wouldn't dare harm me. At least not now. Had she just entered the mansion, I'd have been poisoned already. Not even the emperor, let alone Xiao Su, would spare her. After all, for now, the general's wife could only be me. A princess of noble birth. The atmosphere grew tense. On one side lay the suffering, moaning wife upon the bed, on the other, the pitiable beauty kneeling on the floor. Just as Xiao Su was about to make the agonizing choice, Yulong entered, carrying the scent of locust blossoms on the breeze. His posture was upright, his voice clear and resonant, breaking the deadlock for Shuaying. General Xiao, show mercy. The poisoner is not the second lady. I glanced sideways at Xiao Su. From the moment Yulang entered to the moment he spoke these words, Xiao Su's expression shifted from gloom to relief. It was likely the first time Xiao Su felt such warmth toward Yulang. He hurriedly rose, invited Yulang to sit, and urged him to explain further. Yulang's gaze swept past Shuing, finally settling on the yellow mud on her shoe. Xiao Su did not understand its meaning. Following Yulang's gaze, I saw only myself, consumed by anguish. Xiao Su remained utterly oblivious. At that moment, Shuaying hastily covered her shoe with her skirt. Xiao Su grew impatient, pushing Yulang twice. You're the mistress's foster brother. I know you worry for her, but only by revealing the truth can we avenge her. Look at that, we. Xiao Su's tone was oddly intimate, as if they alone belonged to the same camp. Seeing Shuaying conceal the shoe, Yulong continued. It was a lowly maid from the study. Driven by jealousy toward the second lady, she deliberately framed her. By the time I discovered it, she'd already slipped out of the estate. Yulong hadn't finished speaking. Xiao Su cut him off impatiently. Was her name Xiao Chan? Yulang narrowed his eyes in thought, his memory hazy. I think it was something like Chan. She had a red mole under her chin. Xiao Su slapped his thigh, hastily pinning the crime on her. That must be her. I saw right through Xiao Su in my mind. It made perfect sense. Shuaying came first. How could she be the only one in the study capable of climbing into bed? It was simply that others hadn't succeeded as she had. I couldn't even remember all the maids in the study by name. Xiao Su, however, made short work of it. Seems he truly wasn't idle in that study. I'd thought framing someone for a crime would be harder. But thanks to Xiao Su, everything fell into place effortlessly. Xiao Su believed it more than we did. How jealous that Xiao Chan must have been of Shuing. The matter was settled. Xiao Su let out a long sigh, suddenly feeling an immense weight lift from his shoulders. All it cost was sacrificing a disfavored maid. He gave me an explanation and protected Shuing. Xiao Su offered me a few feigned words of comfort. He assured me he would catch that poisoner, Xiao Chan, soon. Then he wrapped his arms around Shuing and left together. As they reached the door, Shuing glanced back, her eyes lingering on Yulong. A blush spread across her cheeks, radiating a sweet, enchanting beauty. Yulong gave a subtle nod and a wink. It was his way of acknowledging her. A retinue of maids and matrons followed them out. I took the warm tea Yulang offered and whispered, "Stay close. Don't waste your handsome looks." Yulang gave a sly smile. "Rest assured, princess. I have everything under control." After that day, the mansion remained quiet and peaceful for several days. Only Kai Hun would occasionally report. Shuaying had been leaving the estate frequently lately, spending money like water. She also seemed less attentive to Xiao Su, making careless mistakes amid her busyness. 2 months passed before Xiao Su remembered to dine with me. At the table, he casually inquired, "What about that Yulang? Haven't seen him much around the estate lately." I calmly picked up a piece of fish and replied, "I sent him to Pingyao. Bandits have been causing trouble there lately, so I asked him to scout the situation for me first." Xiao Su nodded. "That makes sense. After all, it is your fiefdom." Then he took my hand, his words sincere. "It's better this way. Let him handle the dangerous tasks. It spares my lady from harm." I glanced sideways with a smile. "What? Had honey today?" Xiao Su shook his head solemnly. sighed deeply, and apologized to me. My lady, I was blind before. Shu Ying was completely different now. She was neither considerate nor obedient, constantly buying piles of jewelry, cosmetics, and clothes. He leaned closer, murmuring in my ear, "You're still the best." I clenched my jaw, barely holding back a wave of nausea, rising without a flicker of emotion. I placed a steaming bowl of braised meat before him, hoping to silence him. "Husband, you should show Shuang some understanding. She comes from a poor background. Now that she's finally living comfortably, a bit of extravagance is only natural." Xiao Si sighed again, patting the table as he explained. "My lady, you misunderstand. It's not the silver that pains me. The crux is her. She was once like a lotus, but now she's merely a peach blossom, selling smiles for rewards." Xiao Si's regretful expression was right before my eyes. A mere warrior pretending to be a scholar, talking about lotuses. I pressed my lips together, struggling to suppress my laughter. Xiao Su grew animated in his rant, downing several jars of clear wine with a clatter. As he drank, his mind grew hazy, and he began mimicking poets by composing verses. Finally, after his 10th clumsy attempt at poetry, Xiao Su and I heard the good news. Shu Ying was with child. Overjoyed, Xiao Su stumbled drunkenly from the table, staggering straight toward Shu Ying's quarters. I figured they needed some alone time, so I prepared some nourishing tonics and planned to visit the next day. The following morning, as soon as I entered Shu Ying's room, the entire space was already filled with the warm fragrance of silver thread charcoal. Shu Ying lay nestled in bed like a precious jewel, weakly leaning against Xiao Si's shoulder, her eyes brimming with contentment. "Madam, I am now with child, and the pregnancy is unstable." This bowing, before Xiao Su could finish, I interrupted. "No need for formalities henceforth. Just focus on nurturing yourself. You are precious now." These words pleased Shu Ying greatly. I turned and beckoned the maids to bring forth the treasured tonics. One by one, mountain delicacies, sea delicacies, game delicacies, they filled the table to overflowing. As Xiao Su watched, I summoned the household physician. In his presence, I had each tonic inspected. All were found to be without issue. Shu Ying buried her face in her silver marten fur collar and asked muffledly, "What is the meaning of this? Madam, could it be you fear I might frame you?" I sat down with a light chuckle. "It's simply that I've been frightened. I worry some foolish servants might still harm our bond for personal gain. Better to be cautious." Xiao Su nodded in agreement. He placed his hand on Shu Ying's belly, a smile spreading across his face. Just then, a maid entered carrying the pregnancy-preserving medicine. As she lifted the curtain, the sour, bitter scent of the herbal decoction stung the eyes. I pressed a handkerchief to my nose, watching the two on the bed intently. Xiao Su deftly took the bowl and fed the medicine to Shu Ying, mouth to mouth. Shu Ying clutched the quilt, tilting her head back to swallow each mouthful, though it was only 4 or 5 mouthfuls. Xiao Su fed her over a dozen times. Shu Ying blushed deeply, her voice timid. "Please don't mind, madam. The general just couldn't bear to see me suffer the bitterness and refused to let me drink it." I stared at Xiao Su's straining throat, a surge of satisfaction washing over me. Feigning jealousy, I turned and walked away. As I stepped out the door, I nearly couldn't suppress a smile. How delightful. Feeding medicine. You feared the bitterness and insisted Xiao Su feed it to you. I feared the medicine wasn't bitter enough. That Xiao Su wouldn't feed it to you. A cool breeze swept past, cooling the lingering heat on my face. Yet Xiao Su's slightly trembling Adam's apple seemed to linger before my eyes. Back in my room, I wrote another letter and had Kai Heng send it off. Autumn gave way to winter, and Shuaying's belly grew larger. Some seasoned wet nurses confidently declared it was a boy. Xiao Su was overjoyed. He was already over 30, his first child was naturally a tremendous blessing. The pregnancy tonic remained as sour and bitter as ever. Xiao Su still fed it to Shuaying by mouth every day. Only his own body was not what it had been in years past. He spent his days confined to the warm chamber with Shuaying, unable to step outside, acutely sensitive to the cold. He had his suspicions, but I reassured him that this winter was exceptionally harsh. I issued secret orders. Throughout the winter, all servants in the mansion were strictly forbidden from playing in the snow. Over time, Xiao Su came to believe it. The entire estate was blanketed in white. Only a few maidservants hurried past. Heads bowed. Yu Lang suddenly returned one snowy night. Covered in blood, he collapsed unconscious at the estate gate. Clutching an envelope tightly in his hand, opening it revealed a challenge letter from the bandits. Every word was brazen. Every sentence a provocation aimed at me and Xiao Su. When Yu Lang regained consciousness, he gripped the teacup with his scarred hand, grinding his teeth. Those bandits are beasts. They bound me and forced me to watch as they slaughtered my guards. With that, he propped himself up weakly and bowed 3 times before Xiao Su. General Xiao. Those guards from the mansion cried your name as they died. I beg you, avenge them. Avenge those souls who died unjustly. Before Xiao Su could decide, I flatly refused. Impossible. My sister is newly pregnant, she can't possibly leave her husband. Besides, what about the magistrate of Pingyao? Why has he done nothing? Yu Lang sighed deeply. Sister! You have no idea how vicious those bandits are. The magistrate's troops are too weak, it would be suicide. As he spoke, Yu Lang suddenly coughed up blood. He clutched Xiao Su's arm tightly, then let go with a final, futile effort, leaving a pleading bloody handprint. Yu Lang collapsed unconscious once more. Xiao Su and I stepped out of the room, making way for the hurriedly arriving physician. A cold wind, laden with snow, lashed our faces. Xiao Su shivered first. Then I shrugged, pulling my fox fur collar tighter. After a long silence, Xiao Su spoke. Bandits have killed the guards of the general's residence. I cannot remain silent. He exhaled a long trail of white mist. His resolve firm. Tomorrow I shall seek the emperor's decree to lead troops against the bandits. As for Shuaying, I grasped Xiao Su's cold hand and finished his sentence. My lord, rest assured. Should anything happen to Shuaying, I will pay with my life. As a princess, my word is final, irrevocable. Xiao Su understood this principle, but perhaps he had long forgotten that he was the one who shattered my trust. He once promised me so many things. Never to take a concubine. Never to deceive me. Never to harbor a second heart. He was the one who broke his word first. Why should I continue to be the noble one? Snow fell softly. Xiao Su pulled me into his embrace, murmuring softly, My lady, once Shuing gives birth to our son, I will make it up to you. Xiao Su's words were laughable. No need for his trouble. I had my own way of making amends. 3 days later, Xiao Su led his troops out of the capital. Before leaving, he specifically tripled the number of guards around Shuing. No need to spell it out. I knew he was guarding against me. But Xiao Su was mistaken. He wasn't guarding against me, he was guarding against Shuing. I had Yu Lang placed behind the warm chamber. The reason, of course, was to facilitate his recovery. No matter how many physicians entered to examine him, they all emerged shaking their heads. Buckets of bloody water were poured out day after day. Shuing was beside herself with worry. Days later, I spread the word, Yulong was dying. The household purchased a large camphor-wood coffin, prepared numerous paper effigies of people, horses, and carriages, and even had the soul-guiding banners ready. All that remained was for Yulong to breathe his last and pass away. During this time, under the pretext of accumulating virtue, I generously distributed silver to the servants, urging them to return home to honor their ancestors and visit their parents. Nearly all the household staff had departed. That night, Shuaying entered Yulong's room. Cradling her belly, she spotted Yulong lying on the bed and rushed madly toward him. First, she checked his breath, then listened for his heartbeat. Afterward, she began to sob softly. Yulong, perhaps our fate was meant to be apart. To see you just once today fulfills my deepest wish. After weeping for a while, Shuaying prepared to leave. Yulong's voice came faintly. It's Ing. It's me. It's me. Shuaying seized Yulong's hand, pressed her ear to his lips, and whispered, Yulong, speak. I'm listening. I'm sorry. You. After uttering just a few words, Yulong let out a long sigh, as if expelling his final breath. Shuaying wept even more bitterly. She threw herself onto Yulong's body, burying her face in the brocade quilt, struggling to stifle her sobs. The time had come. I walked slowly toward the spot with Saiheng. Though my footsteps were deliberate, they echoed distinctly. Kaiheng raised her voice to me. Madam, try not to grieve too deeply. Your body won't hold up. My voice cracked with tears. All right. I gave Shuaying ample time to hide. After a few hesitant moments, I pushed open the door with a creak. Sure enough, the bedside was empty. Only a corner of indigo blue fabric peeked out from behind the screen. So poorly hidden, but I pretended not to notice. I didn't approach the bed. Even from a distance, I saw the smooth brocade quilt had gathered wrinkles. I staggered a few steps, collapsed onto the floor, and pulled Kaiheng as I cried out. Did you still not find the revival pill my husband hid? Kaiheng slowly helped me up, sighing deeply. Who could have foreseen today? Surely the general didn't mean to. I waved my hand dismissively. Never mind. It's just that Yulang lacks the fortune. Before stepping out the door, I paused and lamented. If it remains unfound tonight, prepare for the funeral tomorrow. Invite several high monks to ensure Yulang's journey is peaceful. The moment these words left my lips, the screen in the room creaked. Shuaying sucked in a sharp breath. I pushed open the door and left decisively. The revival pill was in Shuaying's hands. This was the last chance Xiaosu had given her before leaving the capital. If I didn't say anything, the maids would never find it. Dawn broke. Over a dozen enlightened monks entered the estate to chant sutras. In an instant, sacred Buddhist chants filled the entire courtyard. By noon, Kaiheng reported, Madam, Shuing has also come to the courtyard to listen to the sutras. I sipped my tea lightly. She wasn't listening to the sutras, she was listening to people. She was curious why the revival pill hadn't shown any effect yet. Setting down my teacup, I chuckled softly before giving my orders. Have a carriage waiting at the back gate. In the hidden compartment, prepare 1,000 taels of gold ingots and a sharp knife. Also, under Shuaying's name, make arrangements with the gatekeepers. Kaiheng murmured her agreement and withdrew. The 1,000 taels of gold ingots were the price agreed upon with Yulong. The sharp knife was to facilitate Yulong's task on my behalf. After making these arrangements, I retired to my room for a brief rest. 1 hour later, the venerable monks brought joyful news. Yulong had awakened and could even walk. I was overcome with gratitude. Attributing this miracle to the blessings brought by the monks, I immediately decided to donate another 1,000 taels of silver to the temple. Yulang bowed slightly to me. Thank you, sister, for saving my life. Tears of relief welled in my eyes as my voice trembled. It matters not. To save you, no sacrifice is too great. I pressed a handkerchief to my eyes. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Shuang standing in the crowd, rolling her eyes at me. No matter how furious she was, what could she say? Did she intend to step forward and claim she had saved Yulong? I suppressed a cold smile and ordered the maids to prepare a grand banquet in the mansion. The servants ate until their bellies were full and their hearts content, each drinking to their heart's delight. No one noticed. A carriage slipped away hastily from the back gate. The second lady of the general's manor had eloped. It became the capital's most scandalous joke. Xiao Su, consumed by rage and disarray, was struck through the abdomen by a bandit's blade. By the time Xiao Su rushed back, Shuing had vanished without a trace for 10 days. I smeared lead powder on my hair, making it look as though white strands had sprouted overnight, as if I'd aged 10 years in a matter of days. Gripping my sword, I approached Xiao Su's bedside. "Husband," I said, "Shuing and Yulang have run away." I truly never imagined it. Yulang was nearly dead, yet he went and did such a thing. I handed the sword to Xiao Su, my voice calm. I failed to watch over them, allowing this disgrace to occur. "Kill me now." Xiao Su lay weakly on the bed, his breath faint as a thread. He flung the sword to the floor, slapping his thigh in reproach. "Blame me. I should never have given Shuang the rejuvenation pill. Without it, she wouldn't have harbored such thoughts." I sat gently beside Xiao Su, tucking a stray lock of hair behind his ear. "Rest assured, my lord. I've issued an edict: capture Yulang and kill him without mercy. As for Shuing, we'll see after she gives birth." Xiao Su grasped my hand, his voice trembling. "What terrifies me now is that the child she carries isn't mine. If I die without an heir, I'll have no face to." Cough. Cough. Xiao Su's words came too quickly, and he coughed up several mouthfuls of blood. I gently stroked his back, whispering, "My lord, do not fret. Once Shuing is captured, let her bear the child first. Afterward, we shall conduct a blood test to confirm paternity. One test will reveal all." Xiao Su murmured good several times. Then, he promised me this child would be registered under my name. As for Shuing, she would be executed. This was Xiao Su's plan, but I was not entirely satisfied. Too simple. It couldn't soothe the hatred in my heart. Back then, when he brought Shuing back to the capital in triumph, every lady in the city looked at me like I was a fool. Not to mention those pitying glances, as if I were some abandoned wife. I despised it. He was the one who trampled me underfoot first. He must pay the price. Xiao Su convalesced for half a month. His breathing remained shallow and labored. But today, at the manor gates, a letter arrived, delivered by a flying dagger. It came from the bandits of Pingyao Mountain. This time, however, it was different. It wasn't a challenge. It was a demand: Xiao Su must pay a ransom. Shuang was in their hands. Without a word, Xiao Su began donning his armor. The cold metal touched his skin, triggering a fit of uncontrollable coughing. I urged him not to go, but Xiao Su pushed me aside forcefully, his resolve unwavering. "My lady, I cannot let my own flesh and blood be held captive." Xiao Su was a warrior, stubborn to the core. The more I pleaded, the more determined he became. I adopted a solemn expression and drew my dagger. "Very well. Since my husband has made up his mind, I shall accompany you to fight the bandits." Xiao Su's eyes widened. He hadn't expected such resolve from me. After a moment's daze, he pulled me into his embrace, murmuring, "With you in this life, I have no regrets." My gaze remained icy. My inner thoughts were his complete opposite. I too once possessed formidable martial skills, but he deemed me too unrefined, unfit for a proper lady. After our marriage, I abandoned swords and spears. turning instead to the arts of music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. But now, it was time to unsheath the blade that had gathered dust. When Xiao Su and I arrived at the front lines of Pingyao, the bandits had already bound Shu Ying to the front of their mountain stronghold. Tightly bound with hemp rope, her large pregnant belly stood out prominently. The bandit leader shouted, "Come on! Attack! If you come at us, don't blame us for being ruthless." Shu Ying's hair hung in disarray, her body streaked with blood. The moment she saw Xiao Su's carriage, she cried out, "General, save me! Yu Lang kidnapped me and sold me to these bandits." Xiao Su clenched his fists so tightly his teeth ground together. He summoned his deputy commander and ordered, "Go negotiate with the bandits. Agree to any demands, but ensure Shu Ying is released safely." The deputy commander gave a dull nod and hurried away. 2 hours later, the bandits sent word. Releasing Shu Ying is acceptable, but their leader demands a duel with Xiao Su. Xiao Su slammed his fist hard onto the table. The deputy commander shook his head beside him, brows deeply furrowed. "General, you're gravely wounded. Let me fight in your place." Xiao Su raised his hand. "No. The bandit leader recognizes me. If he suspects something, he'll kill me to silence me." Then, Xiao Su made his decision. He layered several suits of close-fitting armor beneath his plate armor and stationed 2 squads of hidden sentries around the perimeter. Should anything happen to him, the sentries would immediately fire arrows to rescue him. The hidden sentries took their positions, but after just 2 exchanges between Xiao Su and the bandit leader, suddenly, a hail of arrows erupted from the mountain stronghold. Arrows flew in a dazzling white swarm, wave after wave, as if draping the wilderness in a great cloak. The arrows flew with such speed, their whistling deafening, like a beast roaring past. Standing within my tent, I felt an overwhelming sense of satisfaction. Finally, we've reached this point. My efforts have not been in vain. In the distance, Xiao Su was pierced like a hedgehog. I couldn't even count how many arrows had pierced his body. He stood barely upright, his body still frozen in the posture of raising his sword. Only the grass beneath Xiao Su's feet had turned crimson. The air was thick with the sweet, metallic scent of blood. I covered my mouth with a handkerchief and licked my lips with satisfaction. The soldiers in the tent were petrified. They screamed, "The bandits have gone mad. How could they shoot their own leader? It's over! It's over! General Xiao is dead." The deputy commander raised his broad-bladed cutlass with a swish and roared at the sky, "Charge! Avenge General Xiao!" Countless soldiers surged past me. The clamor of battle echoed through the valley. I draped my jet-black cloak over my shoulders and slipped away silently. Returning to Pingyao City, upon receiving the news, the magistrate of Pingyao County immediately mustered his troops to offer reinforcements. I sat quietly in my new residence, listening to the howls echoing from the mountains. The howls continued until night fell. Only when darkness thickened to the point of pitch black did a few lanterns begin to sway in the distance. The deputy commander, covered in blood, his voice hoarse and choked, "Princess, we avenged the general. Not a single bandit remains." I gripped the stone table, trembling as I rose. Good. But what of Shu Ying? Was she found? The deputy commander shook his head silently. "Take me to see Xiao Su one last time." The memorial hall was arranged with solemn dignity. Xiao Su's bloodstains had been wiped clean. He wore a pristine court robe, his sword placed neatly beside him. Only, the sword remained unsheathed. Its blade glinted with cold light, as if waiting for Xiao Su to raise his hand, and strike his enemies. A cold laugh rose in my heart. What use is a sword to a dead man? To seek vengeance? If he had that ability, he wouldn't have died. Suppressing my irritation, I slowly lifted the silk cloth covering Xiao Su's face. and I was genuinely startled. What a face it was. Describing it as riddled with holes would be no exaggeration. Half his nose was missing. His lips gone, exposing stark white teeth. One eyeball was gone. The other barely held in its socket. My eyes instinctively turned to the deputy commander. How could we be certain this face belonged to Xiao Su? The deputy commander, unaware of my hesitation, bowed his head solemnly. Your Highness. The coroner did his utmost. But the general's injuries were too severe. I waved him away, my voice hoarse as I ordered. You may leave. I wish to be alone with my husband for a moment. The soldiers filed out one after another. The courtyard grew cold and still, only the soul-guiding banners rustling softly. I approached the coffin once more. My hand reached out to touch Xiao Su's right leg. Yes. It was him. Xiao Su had been wounded. A long, raised scar ran along his right leg, stretching from the hollow of his knee all the way to his ankle. I exhaled deeply and settled down beside the coffin. After a few chilly gusts, snow began to fall softly in the courtyard. I recalled our wedding day. It had also been a heavy snowfall. Xiao Su, dressed in splendid attire and riding a spirited horse, had galloped through the snow with me. He had sworn to heaven and earth that I would be his one and only, that he would never betray me. When did things change? I couldn't fathom it. I possess unparalleled beauty, master martial arts, and am a princess. What on earth could Xiao Su possibly find lacking that he must wallow with the maidservants? The snow fell thick and deep. I came to understand a truth. This is likely the universal flaw of men, savoring the essence of deep winter. I felt an incomparable sense of ease. Lost in thought, Yu Lang suddenly appeared. He stood in the blizzard, clutching a wooden crate, and offered me a faint smile. Princess. Surprised? It's still me. I scoffed. Why have you returned? Was 1,000 taels of gold not heavy enough? Yu Lang chuckled awkwardly. Princess. You jest. I bring good news. With that, he opened the wooden crate. Grasping it by the hair, he pulled out a blood-soaked woman's head. Yu Lang held it up like a prized treasure, eagerly asking, Your Highness, are you satisfied? I looked up. It was Xu Ying. Her face was deathly pale, her eyes slightly open, her jaw hanging loose as if she were about to cry out in protest. Suppressing my shock, I clapped lightly and laughed softly. Excellent! Neat and tidy. With that, I beckoned Yulong closer with a smile. Speak. What do you desire? Yulong placed the head back into the wooden box. He approached with measured steps, his eyes conveying affection, and knelt gently before me. Then, lifting his handsome, pale face, he crawled forward on his knees, resting his head lightly against my body. His voice was earnest. Sister, I know you've always corresponded with officials in Pingyao. This is your fiefdom. I want nothing else but to stay by your side. I raised my hand, slowly tracing circles on Yulong's chin. His body trembled, his eyes growing hazy as he murmured. Sister, for you, I'd do anything. Is that so? My lips brushed his skin lightly as my hand slid toward the nape of his neck, feigning a move to explore his back. Yulong let out a soft moan, lowering his head to greedily inhale the fragrance emanating from my body. I bent down, my breath coming in short gasps. Tell me, how did you kill her? The moment the words left my lips, Yulong's eyes seemed to light up. He began to speak, his words flowing freely. Rest assured, sister, I had the bandits torture her to death. Only then could I vent your fury. That bitch tried to blackmail me with the child in her womb. How laughable. I need no child, even if it were mine. I chuckled softly, praising him. Amidst our banter, My right hand swept up the sword beside Xiaosu and plunged it into Yulong's throat. His body arched like a cooked shrimp. Trembling, he gasped hoarsely. You. It was you. Blood dripped from the blade, splattering into a spray on the floor. I coldly observed this amusing spectacle, smiling as I spoke. Indeed. It was me who ordered you to kill Shuing. You obeyed well, I'm satisfied. But... I crouched down, staring into Yulong's eyes as they began to lose their light. Lamenting. You asked for too much, you dared covet what was mine. Your crime is unforgivable. Yulang's blood scattered across the floor, crimson streams slowly pooling beneath Xiaosu's coffin. I surveyed the chaos. Inside the room lay two corpses, one riddled with holes, the other with a slit throat. Outside, a severed head sat amidst scattered hair, snow settling like frost upon it. It was all over. In this vast expanse of heaven and earth, only I remained standing. This is who I am. I ran my fingers over the sword hilt, savoring the exhilaration born of brute force. Closing my eyes, I recalled the events of the past. From selecting a servant, choosing a husband, cultivating influence, and co-opting bandits, to finally ensnaring them all in one net. And I reaped the rewards. I longed for every wife in the land to know. Destiny lies solely in your own hands. No one can control you. Not imperial power. Not your husband. Not anything in this world. But please, never settle for less than you deserve. Once you compromise, endless humiliation follows. Only now do I understand how foolish I was to abandon my blades for Xiaosu. What I abandoned was not merely an object, but the very skill that could have saved me from the flames. Since this world forbids me from divorce, I shall find another way. I gaze at the sun about to rise on the horizon. Yes, dawn has broken. The end.